America tried to destroy one of China's most powerful technology companies, cut off its chips, block its suppliers, and isolate it from the world's most advanced technology. The plan was simple: make Huawei weaker. But years later, something unexpected is happening. Huawei isn't disappearing. It's building the very technology America tried to keep out of China's hands. And the strategy designed to stop Huawei may have helped create a far more dangerous competitor. To understand how this happened, you have to go back to 2019. At the time, Huawei was becoming impossible to ignore. The Chinese technology giant had grown into a global telecommunications powerhouse. Its equipment was spreading across international networks. Its smartphones were competing with the biggest brands in the world. Its growing influence had caught Washington's attention. The United States argued that Huawei represented a national security risk. Huawei repeatedly rejected accusations that its equipment could be used for espionage. But Washington was no longer willing to take the risk. So America reached for one of its most powerful weapons: technology. Huawei was placed on the U.S. Entity List. American companies faced restrictions on doing business with it. Then the pressure became even more severe. Washington tightened rules around advanced semiconductors and chip-making technology. The logic was brutal, but effective. Huawei could design sophisticated technology. But the modern semiconductor industry is global. A single advanced chip can depend on software from America, manufacturing expertise from Taiwan, equipment from Europe, and components from companies spread across the world. Cut Huawei away from those critical links, and the company could suffocate. For a moment, it looked like the strategy was Huawei's smartphone business was hit hard. Access to critical technology became more difficult. Its position in the global phone market weakened. The company that once threatened the world's largest smartphone makers suddenly appeared vulnerable. To many observers, the conclusion seemed obvious. Huawei had been contained. The sanctions had worked. China had just received a painful lesson about the power of America's control over global technology. But inside Huawei, a completely different lesson was being learned. Never depend on someone who can cut you off. Instead of simply waiting for restrictions to disappear, Huawei began pushing deeper into technological self-reliance. Chips, software, operating systems, artificial intelligence, cloud infrastructure. The company was being forced to rethink the foundations of its technology business. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable for Washington, because sanctions can weaken a company, but pressure can also change its incentives. Before the restrictions, buying foreign technology was often faster and easier. After the restrictions, dependence became a strategic threat. Huawei now had a powerful reason to build alternatives, even if those alternatives were initially slower, even if they were more expensive, even if they took years to develop. Failure was no longer just a business problem. It had become a question of survival. Then came the surprise. Huawei returned to the premium smartphone market with devices powered by increasingly advanced domestic chip technology. The message was bigger than the phone itself. China was still behind the world's most advanced semiconductor manufacturers. It still faced serious limitations in advanced chip-making equipment. But Huawei had not stopped. And today, the battle has moved into something even more important: artificial intelligence. Huawei's Ascend processors are becoming a major domestic alternative to NVIDIA's AI chips inside China. In 2025, U.S. officials estimated Huawei could produce no more than about 200,000 advanced AI chips that year. Yet Huawei was already aiming to ship Ascend 910C processors to Chinese customers as an alternative to NVIDIA. Reuters. In 2026, the picture is shifting faster. For years, NVIDIA dominated China's AI chip market. But US export restrictions have limited China's access to NVIDIA's most advanced processors. And every time an American chip becomes harder to obtain, Chinese companies have a stronger reason to find another supplier. Increasingly, that supplier is Huawei. A recent Bernstein estimate reported by the Associated Press projected NVIDIA's share of China's AI chip market could fall to around 8% in 2026, while Huawei could reach roughly 50%. These are estimates, not final market results.
But the direction is striking. America tried to make Huawei weaker, but in the process, it may have helped create China's most determined technology company. And Huawei is only one part of a much bigger war. Because the next battle isn't about smartphones, it's about the chips powering artificial intelligence. Subscribe to Behind the Billion, because in the next story, we're following the technology war that could reshape who controls the future.